Most founders ask, why can't I find good candidates? The better question to ask is, why are good candidates finding reasons to walk away from me? I want to talk to you about something that doesn't get discussed enough in the e-commerce space. What happens when your hiring process is the reason why strong candidates walk away. Not the market, not a talent shortage, not bad luck, your process. I know that's uncomfortable to hear, and I'm going to be direct with you because I've seen it play out enough times to know that most founders never find out how or why it happened. The candidates don't tell you, they don't argue, they don't negotiate hard, they just quietly opt out, and you're left wondering why the shortlist fell apart. I run Alt Recruitment, a boutique agency that places elite marketing, digital and e-commerce talent into fast growth beauty, fashion and lifestyle brands. And today I want to walk you through a real situation I managed, what it revealed and what I think every founder scaling their brand needs to understand before they make their next hire. I was engaged by an emerging beauty brand, a retailer with real growth, a strong brand and a team that cares deeply about the business. The role was a hybrid brand marketer, part trade, part brand, part digital. It was a tricky brief because of the combination of skills, the right attitude, and the right professional character. That meant a smaller pool of talent to source from. The hiring manager had very clear expectations around who they wanted, and they were reasonable expectations. They didn't want someone who could do the job. They wanted someone who showed up with humility, someone who wasn't over-indexing on their own credentials, someone who could earn their place in the room rather than demand it. That mattered, and it should matter, but here's where it started to unravel. Within several days of the shortlist going to interview, 3 strong candidates withdrew. 3. And the feedback was consistent. The culture and leadership weren't the right fit. Now, when a founder hears that, the first instinct is usually they weren't committed enough, or they had another offer, or they weren't serious about the role. Sometimes that's true, this time it wasn't. When I went back, gathered feedback and understood what actually happened across the campaign, it came down to 4 compounding issues. And I wanted to talk you through each one because I'd be willing to bet at least one of them sounds familiar. Issue 1 was misaligned salary versus market reality. The brief called for a candidate with mid-level capability and commercial maturity, the kind of person who could think beyond a task list and contribute to brand direction. But the salary band was positioned at the junior end of the market. And here's the real problem. The data told us it was already a highly in-demand skill. And in this market, the candidates who had that broader exposure, the ones who had worked across brand digital trade, they earned that experience and they know what it's worth. This is not entitlement. When the scope of the role signals one thing, but the compensation signals another, the stronger candidates don't fight about it. They assess the gap and they move on. I shared the market data, I raised the benchmark early, and initially that data was questioned, which is understandable. Founders are protecting their budgets, and they should be. But when 3 candidates give you the same feedback within a week, that's not coincidence, that's data, and that data deserves to be taken seriously. The second issue was outdated hiring beliefs. The interview process focused heavily on what candidates had already done, not their transferable skills or potential. So for example, the graduation year. Was it too close? Was it too soon? Tenure. Was the recent role or company under 3 years? Specific experience. Did they have it? Which is understandable, but not when you're paying a junior level salary and expecting them to operate at a subject matter expert level. Junior talent are working on their careers, so short tenures and recent graduation is expected. In some cases, multiple marketing specializations have not formed yet. What wasn't being assessed, at least not enough, was trajectory and potential. The candidate who has 3 years of real, varied, hands-on exposure inside a growing brand often outperforms the candidate with 5 years of experience in a slow-moving business. But if your hiring framework is built solely around proving the past, instead of assessing someone's capability to deliver in your future, you're narrowing your talent pool before it even has a chance to prove itself. And in a market where the right blend of skills is already a smaller pool to begin with, you cannot afford to narrow it further with the wrong filter. Issue 3 was the interview experience. This is often the turning point, and I want to be really balanced when I say this. Different leaders have different communication styles. Some value directness, precision, healthy skepticism, a dislike for overselling and overindulging on the truth. And honestly, those traits can be strengths, especially in commercial environments. But when the directness isn't paired with warmth or curiosity in an interview setting, candidates don't experience it as rigorous. They experience it as interrogative. There's a fine line between qualifying thoroughly and making someone feel like they need to prove they deserve to be in the room. And I've seen situations where a genuinely strong candidate walked away because they felt that what they'd presented hadn't been explored and it was doubted. Strong candidates aren't just being assessed, they are also assessing your brand. They're asking themselves, is this the leader I want to learn from? Is this a culture I can thrive in? Is this an environment that's curious or defensive? And when the answer feels defensive, they make a quiet decision. They move on. Issue 4 was surrounding trust breakdown from the start. It was earlier than all the other issues, and it's one thing I think is worth naming because it's more common than people like to admit. At the beginning of the search, my market data was questioned. My recommendation on interview volume wasn't followed, and that meant fewer interviews in the earlier stages, which meant slower momentum, which meant predictable withdrawals. I understand the skepticism. Founders are being burned by recruiters who overpromise and underdeliver. That's a real justified concern. But when a recruiter who specializes in your exact market, who delivers this talent pool every day and brings you benchmarking and a process recommendation, the cost of not trusting that early is high. You pay for it downstream. Once trust improved, once we worked together on the interview tone and made it more collaborative, once the brief was refined to reflect market reality, the search was resolved and we made a really great hire. But it took longer than it should have and it cost more candidates than it needed to. When I look back at that campaign, the talent was never the problem. The market had the right people. Our shortlist was strong. The issue was the hiring mindset from the start that came from the wrong place. The starting point was, find me someone perfect at my price. And the more useful starting point, the one that actually gets great hires made, is help me understand what's realistic in today's market. Those two starting points lead to completely different outcomes. One shrinks your talent pool and creates friction at every stage. The other opens up access to candidates you never have considered and creates an interview experience that makes strong people want to say yes. And here's the part that most founders don't fully account for. Strong candidates are not desperate. The marketer who can genuinely scale a beauty brand from 5 million to 20 million plus, they're not sitting at home watching out for your job ad. They're probably already employed, they're passive, and when they surface, it's because someone like me has found them and brought them into your process. They are evaluating you as much as you are evaluating them. They're asking, is this founder clear on what they want? Is the compensation fair? Is there room for me to grow? Is this leadership that I can respect? When those signals align, great candidates commit. When they don't, they quietly opt out and they rarely tell you why. So what does a hiring process look like when it's working properly? What's the version that doesn't lose strong candidates in a broken experience? It starts before the search even begins. It starts with a genuine conversation about what the role actually needs to deliver, not just a job description, but an understanding of what success looks like in 6 to 12 months, what the team dynamic is, what kind of person thrives in this environment, and what the market realistically looks like for that profile. That's where a lot of hiring campaigns lose before they've started. The brief is either too vague or too rigid or disconnected from what the market can actually deliver. Getting that right at the beginning changes everything downstream. From there, it's about assessing the right talent, and the reality is candidates who can genuinely move the needle on a brand are not browsing job boards. 70% of high-performance talent is passive. They're not applying to jobs. They need to be found, they need to be engaged and brought to the table through a deliberate approach. That's not something a job ad can do. And then there's the screening and assessment piece, not just verifying what's on a CV, but genuinely assessing whether the person has the capability to perform in your specific environment. Past performance is a predictor of future success, but only if you are asking the right questions and structuring your evaluation around real capability. And finally, decision support. Making confident, fast hiring decisions without paralysis. Knowing how to read the shortlist, how to interview properly to get the most out of it, how to structure the offer, how to avoid losing a great candidate at final stage because the process slowed down. This is what we call the Brand Building Talent Engine, our proprietary multi-stage hiring process that's built specifically for beauty, fashion, and lifestyle brands scaling through growth. It's not recruitment, as you may have experienced. It's a structured, performance-led system designed for roles where quality matters, where mishire risk is real, and where the right person can genuinely transform what's possible for the brand. If you're scaling your brand right now, or you're about to make your next hire, I want you to take one thing from this video. The way your hiring process feels to a candidate is data. The way you respond to market information is data. The way your interviews run is data. And strong candidates are collecting that data in real time. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be honest about where your process might be creating friction that you can't see. Because the candidates who disengage quietly, they never give you the chance to fix it. If any part of what I shared today resonated, if you're building a team and you want to do it properly, I'd love to have a chat. Links to connect with me are in the description. And if you found this useful, subscribe to watch more content like this. Feel free to share this video with another founder who's in the middle of hiring. It might save them a campaign.